Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Sales League show with myself, Jake, and my business partner, Josh Alltop. We've got some exciting stuff that we are looking forward to talking with you about today. Actually, I'm really excited about. Today, one of the things I wanted to dive into was actually Josh's story and how he got into sales. Because for me, and I think anyone else listening, I think it's a fascinating story. What I love about it, and we'll get more into it, is Josh pretty much was a music producer. He was Drake for 20 years.
Yeah.
And then he decided, screw this, man. Like I don't need any of that anymore. And decided to jump right into sales. Complete 180 career change. So today, want to dive into that. Before I do, though, how are you doing? Anything on your mind?
Well, what I have in mind is the way that you just opened the show by saying, hello, ladies and gentlemen. And I pray to God that we actually have women who listen to us. Because it's so funny. I was just doing an interview the other day.
You like that, huh?
I do.
I just did those off the dome.
I know. I love it. It's probably because you probably recently watched some Will Ferrell movie. But what I love about it is in this industry, obviously it's male dominant driven, and I have obviously no issue with alpha males or anything like that. I just wish that there were more women in this industry, and because the ones that we do know, Kelsey and Carrie and some of our other friends now. This new
Josh wants alpha women.
It's not so much the alpha women. I believe that anybody who wants to learn a skill set can learn a skill set and be great at it. And I just think it would be nice because there's a book out there. It's called Why She Buys. I think I'm kind of just going through it right now, but I just think that women could crush. So if you're a lady, a girl, a woman, a chick, whatever you want to identify as or feel comfortable saying, yo, amazing. I hope you're here and I hope you crush it. So we love it, and every, lady that we've had come through the Sales League has been amazing and it's just crushed. So
absolutely.
I support the ladies.
100%. So, ladies and gentlemen.
Other than that, I'm feeling great. I'm feeling fantastic, and I'm excited to be recording another show with you.
Another episode.
If I actually was Drake for the last 20 years, I 100% would not be here right now at all. I would be on my 747 on my way to some sporting event. But yes, so I was. Where do you want me to?
So here's
because I've told this story what to me feels like 1,000 times. What do you think I should talk about?
The first thing I want you to talk about is I want you to take us back, give us some context in terms of specifically. Okay, if you weren't Drake, what specifically were you doing before you got into sales and leading up to that?
I grew up in a Christian home my whole entire life. Right, father was a pastor, mom was a worship pastor. My mom could sing the freaking break glass. She could sing the paint off the walls, whatever. She was amazing. And she was a great piano player as well. She was also a songwriter. Honestly, my mom probably would have got signed as a songwriter if it wasn't for having us kids. So sometimes I feel bad for her. I feel like we just really crushed her dreams. But no, I'm just kidding. But she was very talented. And my father actually was a drummer as well. So somehow I got that. And it came to me when I was 2 years old. Man, I would just play with two straws on anything I could, play on. I would steal the pots and the pans around 6 or 7 years old and lay them all out, crayon boxes, and make a little drum set. I didn't actually have a drum set till I was in the 7th grade.
Wow.
So I would just have to play at the church afterwards. I think my first time playing in a church service, I might have been 7 years old or something like that. And I played with my mom but I grew up playing. So I'm a drummer first. I learned bass, guitar, piano, all those other things due to either someone in the church didn't show up, so somebody had to play it, so I figured it out. I mean, the first time that I played bass, I learned the instrument that week to play that weekend.
Oh my
because
gosh.
I was like, somebody's got to play bass. I was like, I could probably figure it out. It can't be that hard. So I did that. That turned into being in bands. When I was in bands, I had ideas in the studio when we would go into the studio throughout high school. And then fast forward, I went to a small college where I played football. I was getting hurt and injured, and I was like, definitely not going pro or arena or Canadian or anything cool like that, because I just way too small and probably didn't have the talent. And so I was like, man, I love being here. I love playing football. This is great. I had an amazing jazz instructor, but I was like, it was just always hurt. And I was like, this isn't going to be my long-term career. So my jazz instructor at the time was like, hey, do you know someone will pay you for all your ideas that you have? I was like, shut up. I was like, somebody's going to pay me to tell them what to do? I love that. That sounds like a great idea. He's, yeah, it's called being a producer. I was like, well, I want to do that. So he told me about a school in Florida. I go to a school in Florida called Full Sail. So I, have like an associate's degree. I stopped, or I didn't stop. I just didn't finish it out. And then I go and I get, my bachelor's at Full Sail. Mm-hmm. And that's in producing, recording engineering. Yeah. So I go there and it's great. Probably had the best grades I've ever had in my life because it was just very...
You loved it.
And it was the way that I learned helped a ton. So it was very like you go to a classroom and then you immediately go to a lab and you apply it. At least at the time when I went, that's how it went down.
Yeah.
So I got it. So I was in music. So touring, traveling, I would, got into producing for church records, pop records, did some country stuff, did some hip hop. Actually, first song that ever got actually licensed for me was Madden 2007 when Sean Alexander was on the cover. I was a producer. This girl named Haley Hunt, her sister was married to Sean Alexander's brother.
Okay.
I don't know. Some type of connection. She's like, hey, will you record this and help me produce this? I was like, yeah, I know a lot about it. I didn't know anything. And so it worked. It got onto it. And then we all signed our rights away and didn't make I think I made like $2,000 off of it because they just paid me for it. Or I don't even know honestly what I made, but it was nothing. Like I didn't have any rights to it. But it was a really dope song and it was cool. And so we got onto it. And then, so I just did music. So produce, make records. I got to see a lot of the world. I was very blessed.
Traveled a lot.
Yeah, traveled a lot. I mean, I did a record in Peru. I did a record in Finland. I all throughout Europe, Thailand, not Thailand, Taiwan. I was just very blessed to be a part of an amazing community where I got to see a lot of the world and make what I thought were really solid records and won some awards, was nominated, and it was great. When we came to Nashville, my time where I was at in Texas just basically came to an end. It was just the end of a season. And,
Real quick, just real briefly, tell the story of you guys going from Texas, because you had been in Texas for a long time.
Yeah.
You were working at a church. And then I love the story of how you guys basically decided to move to Nashville because you and your wife basically heard from God, but like separately, and we're just like, hey, we're moving out. Why are we moving out? That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah. So, great. So my time at the church that I was on, it was this, just one of those really large, awesome churches, still going, still doing great. My time was just done for numerous amounts of reasons, but it was just done and it was the end of a season. So in my mind, I was like, well, we love Texas. We always thought we'd die here and build our roots here, our families here, our communities here. Everyone here is awesome. It's just the occupational side was changing. So I was like, well, I really want to be a successful producer. So I want to stretch my legs and see if I can hang with the big boys, hang with the big dogs. So I was like, I should keep going to Nashville on rights and keep going to LA for rights. So I go away. I spend 7 days by myself. I had a friend tell me something that has never left me, and I doubt that it ever will. But he's a very close friend of mine, and he said, to this day, still really good friends. Excuse me. But he said to me, Josh, this transition season's intense for you. What you need right now, a change of pace, change of place will give you a change of perspective. And he literally said to me, where do you want to go? I'll fly you anywhere. Tell me where you want to go and I'll help you. And I was like, I want to fly to California. I'm going to go to this place that's like known for like prayer. And I just went on this like 7-day spiritual journey and it was amazing. I got so much download, so much anything. So I'm driving back. It's up north. I had to drive back to San Francisco. I called my wife and I said, here's what's going to happen. Once a month, I'll fly to Nashville. Once a month, I'll fly to California. Every other month, I'll rotate. I will find a job. I'll stay steady. we're just going to knock this thing out. It's going to work. And she's like, all right, let's do it. So I said, can you book me a trip to Nashville next week? She's like, done. She books me a trip to Nashville. I get to Nashville. A good friend of mine that lives here called me. He's like, hey, I'm up in this area, Green Hills area. I was down in Franklin. He's like, come up, have lunch with me. So I say, great. So I'm driving up this back road, which now I know is 431. I'm driving basically from Franklin, up to, oh, good God, Green Hills area. And so we go to Martin's off of in Belmont.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, dude, you'll love this barbecue, which Martin's probably is the best barbecue in Nashville, but God, I miss Texas barbecue.
It's not the same thing.
It's just not the same. No matter how you try to slice it, no pun intended, brisket, but it's just not the same. So when I'm driving up, I'm in a little rental car and I see just these beautiful rolling hills. I see all of this stuff that I'm just like, wow, it just felt good. Like I'm in this crappy little rental car. In essence, my world just got rocked and shaken. And I'm like, yo, I should totally, like I said out loud, I said, I want to move here. And it was like something in my heart and in my spirit. And to me, it was God audibly speaking to me. I know this is where I want you to be. And I was like, whoa. So I processed that throughout the rest of the day. Well, that next day, I called my wife and I just said, hey, side note, just, had a chat with God. We're going to move to Nashville. Just want to let you know, we'll wrap everything up and try to hang up. And she's like, whoa. She's like, no. She's like, what do you mean God told you we're moving to Nashville? I was like, yeah, we're just going to move to Nashville.
We're just going to move across the country.
Yeah.
No big deal.
We have zero job, no savings. Let's just move across the country and sell everything we own and see what happens. And she was like, no, I didn't get that word. I didn't hear that. So you're crazy. And I was like, cool. So I come back and I don't tell a pastor. I don't tell a family member. I tell nobody that I got that word. So I'm like, yo, 30 days goes by. I'm not busting alley about it because the reality is I could have been emotional.
Yeah.
I could have been a little hyped up on the vibe of being in
just
a city.
How beautiful it is.
How beautiful it is.
Yeah.
I mean, Nashville's gorgeous. I could have just been hyped up on all of that. And about 30 days later goes by. She's like, well, what would it even look like if we were to sell our house? And I was like, wait a second. Did you have a conversation with God that I don't know about? And she said, well, here's what happened. I was mad when you got that word because I didn't get that word. And I was like, because most of our life, anytime we've ever done anything together, it's that we have done it as a joint effort.
Right.
Now, we didn't always have the exact answer, but we had peace. Right?
Yeah.
We always had peace together. And we always had this word, like, listen, as a joint married couple, we're not doing anything unless we at least are in agreement upon it and we have peace about it. Because if we're both in agreement on it and we're wrong, great, then we go down with the ship kind of a thing. Like, we're together, though. Because that's all I got. I got her and my kids, right? So she said what happened was I had a conversation. What she felt like God told her was that very simple. Hey, listen, do you believe that I speak to your husband? She's like, yes, I do. She's like, do you believe that he's listening to me and that he wants to be obedient and do what's right for you and the family? She's like, yes. She's like, do you believe that I'm big enough that even if he was wrong and he was pushing for something, that I could still take care of you?
Yeah.
So it was something like that. I'm paraphrasing. She says it way much better. And she said, I do. He said, great. I'm not going to give you the same word. That's what she wanted.
She wanted the same thing.
She wanted the exact same word. And he said, I'm not going to give that to you. But what I am going to give you is peace.
Yeah.
Which in essence is the same thing. So she came to me. She said, boom. She's like, how fast? So we call my friend. He's a custom builder. I call him. We're like, hey, we want to sell our house. What should we do? He was like, the market started like 30 days ago. You're going to want to get it on the market now. Because it was like right after May going into the summer. And I get the house show ready in 3 days. I packed everything up. She was working at a job. Kids were in daycare. I pack everything up, get the whole entire house ready. We probably sold that house in 7 days.
Crazy.
Sold that house in 7 days. And then we had nowhere to move.
Yeah.
Because we hadn't actually moved to Nashville or hadn't come to Nashville.
So all your stuff was just like in storage or?
So then we start packing everything up. And I'm like, we'll put it in a pod. We'll bring the pod over. And when it's time to go. But I could only afford one extra large pod at the time. Nothing fit because what did I bring? All my drum gear, my studio and all that. So we brought a couch, a studio, dishes, and clothes and toys. everything else we had to flash sell in 3 days. So we sold everything that we owned almost to the degree. Like, not exaggerating, but we flash sold everything. Put it in a pod. It sat in a pod for like 2.5 months, maybe 3 months actually, because we moved in September 23rd, and we sold our house in like the end of June. So so we come to Nashville. The guy who sold us our first house, that was I believe will be a lifelong friend. And it just totally worked out. Found a house, came up for 4 days, put an offer on a house before it ever went on the market, got it. And then we were like nomads living out of 2 cars for like 2.5-ish months, staying with friends. And then we moved to Nashville and got into music, started doing music. So that's where we're at. So now I'm in Nashville. I'm doing music. We're going for it. It's going great. Boom. I meet this friend in 2017 who then come in 2020, actually starts asking me all these great questions on the boat. Cause you know what happens on a boat, what happens in, during 2020 is you go out on a boat. Can't nobody say anything to you when you're out on the water. So
you're out on the lake.
Yeah. We're out on the lake hanging out, and he just basically asked me a question. What are you doing with your future? Or, how are you going to achieve what you're trying to achieve?
Yeah.
And I was like, easy. It's super simple. I'm going to make these super cool beats. Then people are going to buy them, and artists are going to sing them. And then I'm going to be a famous producer. I'm going to win a Grammy, and everything's going to be perfect in my world. He was like, that's your game plan? Like that's your game plan to financial freedom and success is to sit and make beats. And so the conversation goes on to basically really challenge me in the way that I was thinking and the way that I was perceiving what success could look like and how could it look. And what I found out in the music industry, at least for me and my experience, this might not be for everybody else. From my experience, it was this. There were 8 to 10, maybe even 12 people who could determine if all of that hard work that I did ever actually got placed or put somewhere.
Put on. And when you say placed, you mean put in a movie,
meaning I go into the studio,
game,
video game, TV show, movie, ad, in show, something.
Because at the time you were doing sync music.
So at the time I'm doing sync music. Sync music is basically you see somebody, the romantic rom-com scene, somebody's kissing, the guy finally gets the girl, and there's a guitar track or a music or something behind it. That's sync music. You see a cool ad for a truck, music, sync, right? So anything that music companies a visual, right?
Yeah, so you'd produce all of this stuff, produce like hundreds of tracks with the hope that one of them someone picked up.
Yeah, I felt like on average, I probably did. Yeah, I mean, I have hundreds of songs at this point. But yes, so you're doing all of these tracks, hoping that someone picks it up. You're hoping that somebody likes it. It makes it into the bag of marbles, and that music supervisor pulls out your name in the hat, and now you're going to make money. And hopefully they have a normal budget that's worth paying you, and it's not just pennies.
Yeah.
What I found out was there were a lot of people that got to determine if my work ethic and hard work actually got rewarded or, was equated. I was paid for properly for that. Okay. That bothered me because what I realized is I had zero control of making money. Now I could get better at my skill set. I could make my songs so undeniably great.
You could make more of them, figure out a way to.
I could increase my numbers. I'm with you on that. But instead of doing that, I was like, he said, why don't you come sell for me? He's like, your industry's on pause right now due to 2020. Just come sell. I was like, great. I'll sell for you a little bit until, music industry picks back up, and I'll go for it. And I mean, like, I fell in love immediately with it. I'm talking
and you never I remember the first day, because you and I met at that office, first day coming to the office and being introduced to you and asking, the owner of the company asking, like, hey, this is Josh. I'm like, nice to meet you, Josh. Granted, I'd been at the company for maybe a year at this point. And they're like, hey, I think Josh is going to join the sales team. What do you think of that? And I'm like, I asked you, like, hey, do you have sales experience? You sold in the past? And you're like, nope. I'm like, do you think that you can sell? You're like, absolutely. I was like, okay. And it was that I remember that so clearly because from that day forward, I mean, you crushed the numbers. And a lot of people on the team, like there were people on the team that had been studying sales and taken thousands of calls and just knew everything perfectly. And I'd say the one thing that allowed you to stand out was just your level of confidence and conviction in yourself. You didn't sound the best on the phones. You didn't say all of the right things. You didn't follow the script perfectly. But when someone got on the phone with you, there was just such a level of like certainty and conviction. They're like, well, I mean, hell, man, this guy obviously knows what I should do with my life, so I'm going to listen.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very valid point. No, I had never... I mean, to my knowledge, I had never taken a sales call up until that moment. Now, knowing what I know about sales now, I realized that my whole life had been sales. I've always been selling myself as a producer, as a musician. I'm always selling myself somewhere to somebody, somehow. But I had never done traditional, formal sales to my understanding, okay? But what I knew was the guy that I was selling for had an offer. In full transparency, he had a freaking dope car, a nice house, and he was living the life that I was like, yo, that seems like I would want to do that. So obviously he knows what he's doing. Well, I'll run with that. What else could, and he had this huge office. So it's not a Ponzi scheme. You know what I mean? I was like, it has to be the real deal. And it was great. I mean, I got to help so many clients and help so many businesses, and it was awesome. But I didn't know anything. All I had was conviction. And when I think in my first 2 weeks, I closed, 2, 4, I don't know, somewhere between 4 and 6 deals. I don't have them super memorized, somewhere in between that.
Yeah.
And that first month of working, I like basically could make like 12 grand. All right. My first like full month working once I got over to TF. And I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. How much were you making doing music stuff?
So on average, I would probably do anywhere between 80 and 100 grand a year as a musician through records, through traveling and touring. So not a lot, not horrible. Some years, I mean, I was doing like 40, 50 grand, but I was on average making anywhere between about 80 to 100. And some years we'd get up to like 120 with Allie working or something like that. And so like, like not a bad living, but like definitely we weren't setting anything up for the future whatsoever.
Yeah.
I mean, we were not going towards anywhere. What I had learned from that moment was the power of control is what drives me. And I don't mean just like controlling people, but the ability to say, if I put in this amount of energy, this amount of effort, I want to know that I could be rewarded for equivalent to that amount of energy and effort. Sales is the fastest, most legal way that you can make as much money as possible.
Yep.
Now, I still do music. I still get to do records here and there. I'm getting ready to go to Philadelphia and do one. I still love getting to do them things. I got to experience my first movie trailer and actual in-show movie. I had me and my song of one of my all-time favorite writers and artists to work with. We landed a movie trailer and an in scene. It was a rom-com, and it was like the kissing scene where the girl gets the guy, and I was like, yeah, this is freaking awesome. So that was like a really cool thing because I did that song 3 years ago.
Yeah.
And so to be able to sit 3 years later and watch that, and they paid, really solid, not like phenomenal, but paid really solid for that placement. And it was cool to sit in there and be like, wow, all that work that I had done, all that seed that I had sown, I can still see fruit from it. And I can still see all of that hard work was not for naught. It wasn't
100%.
for nothing. Yeah. So, so that's pretty much the transition from going from music to
into sales.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me, what was it like when you, because I remember the first time like I started making, I had a marketing agency before I got into sales, did that for a little while, shut that down, get into sales full time because I'm like, I don't want to have to worry about running a business. I just want to have to worry about doing one thing and doing one thing really well.
Yeah.
But what was it like that first like big check that you get and you're like, oh, this is legit? Like,
yeah, I mean, the first big check was like, I mean, you feel great, you feel amazing, you're trying to take your, your wife to like a really dope restaurant and be like, yo, I've made it. All right, we're gonna crush this. It's gonna be, because the first time I taste any type of success, my brain and how I'm wired is like, great, this is gonna be like this times 1,000. So let's run with it now. So I learned very quickly that I had to be like, okay, don't get too hype on this. Because I also was a lot older than a lot of those sales guys in that pit. I had a lot more life under me and what I had done. Also probably because I was 15 years older than all of them. But I knew enough to be like, this is amazing. I'm paying the bills.
Yep.
I'm going to be able to like take Allie out somewhere nice to eat and not trip about it. And it felt really good. It also felt really good because I started sales before that holiday season. So it was nice to be able to buy people, extra people, because we love to give. We love giving to people. And it was really nice to be able to serve and give and do nice things. And man, it was awesome. Yeah. But I also knew very quickly, okay, for this to actually grow, I have to learn sales. Like I have to get better at what I'm doing.
You can't just rely on like some raw talent that you had that...
Because I didn't even know that I was relying on raw talent. I didn't have a concept of how it was all working. I just, whatever they said do, like I kind of did, even though none of it made any sense because there wasn't any real training going on. It was just pure baptism by fire. That's probably why I'm so passionate about training, because I'm like, heck, if I could have had the training that we give out right now, I'm like, I could have done 1 billion times better.
Yeah.
Even faster than what I had done it before. So now I'm just like, okay, how do we make sure that we set people up for maximum success? How do we make sure that we set people up to have that same type of result or structure or opportunity to win and succeed? So it was amazing.
Yeah. What would you tell someone who maybe is in a similar season where they're in one career, they've been doing the same thing for a while, and they're looking at changing things up? Specifically, let's say they're looking at getting into something like sales. Yeah. What advice would you have for them just making that transition?
Yeah. There's so many things I would want to say about anytime anybody is making a transition from something they've known their whole entire life, like in my case with music, to a complete 180 into sales. What made that possible for me was that I had a supporting wife, and obviously my kids they were young enough. They were like, "Dad's the best." Like I really
we're
could have
moving
messed
to Nashville.
up.
Dad's gonna start selling now.
Yeah,
okay, cool.
Yay! So it's like none of that really matters. What mattered was that me and my wife, me and Allie, we're in alignment.
Right.
We were in alignment, and she was like, "Listen, I got you." She's like, "If you want to go take a swing at it, go for it." She's like, I believe you can do anything. And because we had that type of alignment and just joint effort, right? Like we were just on the same page. It made it to where I felt like I could go in with literally not a care in the world. I felt the pressure. Like I had to make it work, but I didn't go in thinking like, yo, is she going to think I'm a failure? I didn't have any of that. She was like, go fast and go as hard as you can, right?
Yeah.
And really make it like learn and grow. So if you're not married, right, you don't have a spouse, you're not answering to anybody, then I think it really comes down to making sure that whatever it is that you're stepping into, feel confident about it and feel bold about it. Because even if you don't have all the answers, you don't have all the skill set, you don't have all the talent for it, but you have the belief and the conviction that what you are stepping into can achieve that which you desire, you can be unstoppable. Because you can learn the skill set, the talent, you can learn that which you are lacking. It's like that old statement that we always used to say, right now as you lack in skill set, you got to make up
in volume.
In volume,
yeah.
Right. I think in anything that you step into, if you're willing to put in the hours, you're willing to consider. Here's the best way I can sum it up. Consider the cost.
Yeah.
Consider the cost. Know what it's going to take out of you. What did he say? Our guy that used to direct us at the time, he said, if you're going to eat shit, don't nibble. And it's like, yo, if you're going to have to do this and it's going to suck, then know it, accept it, and own every ounce of it. Because when you can own it, Now, when it hits you in the face and you're like, oh my God, this is way harder than I imagined, you can say, no, it's not. It's exactly what I said it was going to be. And if it is harder, great. It's only for a time until I make up for that.
Yeah.
So I would say, if you're walking into a new season, you're going to make a transition, especially like going into sales, know what it's going to cost. Know that you might go backwards the same way we take a slingshot, right? For that slingshot to have the trajectory that you really want it to have, it's really about how far you can pull back, how much resistance you can pull back and handle until it releases you and you get to catapult your trajectory that much further than it would be if you would not have pulled back. So be comfortable with taking a step back, right? Or like when I was interviewing that prospect the other day, and they're like, well, I know that I'm going to have to take a pay cut. I'm like, well, no, you're not, because you're going into sales, which means you actually now have control of how much money you can make. So if you take a pay cut, it means you suck at sales. And then they were like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's right. I was like, right. So it might be a pay cut for a couple of months, but now you just need to expand your scope and realize, oh, I didn't take a pay cut. I'm just preparing and growing for this bigger trajectory that's coming and going.
Yeah. I think one of the things that you said is really important too is consider the cost and are you willing to pay it? So being honest with yourself, which is, hey, if you want to do this thing, if you want to make this career change, dive into this new season, go at it like full send. I'm saying, because I'm wearing the Happy Dad sweater.
Yeah.
Sponsor us. But if you're gonna go at it like full steam ahead. Don't pull back. Give it your all. But before you do that, consider what giving your all is going to require of you, and are you actually willing to give that all? And if you're not, that's okay. But it's better to be honest with yourself instead of say, hey, I'm willing to give this my all, when you're actually not. Because then you're just, you're kind of being disingenuous with yourself.
And if power comes from self-honesty, you are going to do more benefit for yourself than accepting the fact that like, yo, I don't really want what I say I want.
Yeah.
I'm lying. Because now you can relieve yourself of that pressure of pretending that I want this life, I want that thing, I want this car, I want these things, but I'm not willing to pay the cost that it takes to acquire those things. Well, then just don't say that you want those things. Because then at least now you're not lying and you can relieve yourself of trying to do something that you're taking off the pressure because you don't really want it. But if you really do want it and you consider that cost, then then anybody could be unstoppable at that moment.
Yeah.
I truly do believe that. So
100%.
Yeah. This is a good episode, dude.
This is solid.
Yeah, I feel great. I mean, like I've told that story 1,000 times and
you just got to keep telling it, man. It's so good. I love it because I don't really know anyone who did a complete 180 like that you did and had the success that you did. Because at the company, I mean, I don't know. How much did you generate at the company? I mean, you were there for a short period of time.
Look back at the numbers. The last time I looked at it, it was somewhere within my first year, it was like 5 million, I think, within my first year of being in sales. And I had a really high collection percentage, really high closing percentage, and it was great. And I felt like we really got to serve a lot of clients, and it was really cool. And I feel like we've made a lot of connections. And I had great numbers, and I don't think it's because I had all the skill set in the world and all the talent. I think it's just because I had high belief and high conviction that people can win. People can succeed in life. And sometimes we just need the opportunity to do that. And I will say I do have a bent for it. I have a bent for talking to people. I have a bent for engaging with people. I am an extrovert. All of these things, you could say those. But I've also watched a ton of extroverts and a ton of people who have the gift of gab, and they suck at sales. So it's like there's something to it that is more than just, I like talking to people.
Yeah.
It's that I actually enjoy trying to solve problems.
That's what it's all about.
That's all sales
Solving
is.
problems.
Great Lou Holt said that. Sales is just simply solving problems. So how do we solve problems? Actively listening. We ask questions. We lead our prospects. We guide them to the best possible option scenario that is for them. The byproduct of that is my bank account is going to race through the roof. So, yeah.
Just a bonus.
Yeah, great. Great episode. Do you want to close this out?
Yeah, thank you so much for watching this. The only thing that we ask is if you enjoyed this and you got something out of it, share it with a friend, and stay sharp.